Oh, I was mentioning this story to Dan a minute ago. One part of maybe would be a book. My girl cousin Sandy's husband Larry Sloniker up in San Jose, and John Eckhart up in Clear Lake, who got the Veeble a few plays on a small station near Clear Lake. The Veeble song, I have to admit, it's a stiff. It got played on the Gary Owens show and one station back in New York City. So I thought the distributors would be knocking on my door and calling me up. The Veeble song, we won't go into that. It was done in my motorhome years ago. But when I lost my leg in 1963, I was in this gymnasium in the hospital, orthopedic hospital, and a prosthetic guy brought over a test artificial leg. You're kind of work with robotics, don't you, Dan?
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a test artificial leg, and it was so uncomfortable. I thought, I just took it off and threw it on the cot and sat there. I thought, I can't wear something like that. It just felt terrible. Then I looked over across the gym, a lot of people. There was this 12-year-old colored kid, black kid. His name was Leon Beard, B-E-A-R-D. And he had been playing around the railroad yards with some kids. His mother told him not to, but he did anyway, and he lost both legs with a rail train. So he was over there with two test artificial legs on parallel bars with a big grin. And I just sat there and cried. I thought, if he can do it, I can do it. I'd like to smoke out him. He was about 12 when I was 24. So whatever age he is, if anybody knows what happened to Leon Beard, I'd like to meet him. Cute little story. One of the worst records I ever did was the back of a flop record called Drum Party. It was called Party Time. And I did the piano and the drums, no bass, no guitar, no sax. And it was used on the Dick Clark Saturday show. And I had just done a drum rhythm for like 3 minutes, not knowing what I was going to put on it. But I had a thing about this chord, the 7th chord. I didn't know that it was based on a tritone or devil chord like Musica Diablo. It was outlawed in the early Christian church around 13th century under the penalty of torture or death. And in classical music for dummies it says, "We're not kidding." I think they used it on railroad locomotives years ago. And Bruce Johnston, who we started out with, we had a little band and we'd play some Ray Charles things. It always had that devil chord in it, the 7th chord, you know, like it's kind of naughty or mysterious. And so, but this Party Time, this side of the single I put out on Imperial, I didn't really want it to be a single. It was just part of an album. All it was just with just a boom, cheap, boom, with the drum beat, and yet it was on the Dick Clark show, but at least it had the 7th chord. So much for the 7th chord. There's a story that's more recent. A woman trucker named Tanya and her husband, they do trucking. They live in Great Bend, Canada, or I think it's called Great Bend. And she grew up with Let There Be Drums and Birth of the Beat. And when she was a little girl, it helped her mood changes and get her in a good mood, and the hormonal changes when she was real little. And so she had a horseback riding accident when she was about 13. And she was in a coma for 3 months. You haven't heard this story yet. And the doctors gave up hope and were going to unplug her. They brought in a priest for last rites. And after the last rites, her father brought in Let There Be Drums and Birth of the Beat on an earpiece, or earphones, I guess. And she came out of a coma. So she came down here recently to visit. She's really a pistol. 6'1", I think she's 6'1". So hi, Tanya, and plant your vegetable garden.